no one wanted to speak publicly. Everyone is absolutely terrified of their family members being targeted back in Iran, but everyone's been really worried. I can't explain just how many people send me messages on social media every day from inside Iran and also from here saying, we need international help.
US and Iranian airstrikes on Iran are continuing, and more than 555 Iranians have been killed, whilst Iran has attacked Bahrain, Dubai, Saudi Arabia and Cyprus today. Let's join correspondent in Dubai, Sally Lockwood. Sally, a very good afternoon from us in London. Can you just tell us everything that you know about the current situation where you are at the moment?
Hello to you both. Well, it's been another busy day here. I mean, we had a lull overnight. It felt quieter. I think people got a bit more sleep than they had the night before. I think everyone I spoke to had very, very little sleep on that first night of attacks. It was just so unnerving and so noisy, with the sound of really loud blasts and explosions. Today has kicked off with more loud blasts in the sky. There's been an explosion reported in Abu Dhabi this afternoon, more air raid sirens. That said, I'm also just currently receiving word that the first flights will leave Dubai this evening, which is extraordinary. Very few people would have imagined that just a few hours ago with events this morning. But Emirates are now planning limited operations this evening out of Dubai International Airport. And we're also hearing that Etihad airline is also flying limited operations out of Abu Dhabi. That 7 aircraft have already left, actually. They've already been identified on flight radar. We haven't received confirmation yet that passengers are on them, but we have spoken to someone who was on the tarmac waiting to take off for a flight to Cairo, and she hasn't responded to our messages since. So we do believe that she is in the air and she's on one of those 7 flights, and there is one bound for Heathrow as well. So, I mean, amidst what has been a very, very stressful and worrying few days, not just for residents of the UAE, of which there are 250,000 British citizens living here, but also the tens of thousands of people who found themselves caught up in war, stranded on holiday, that it seems some sort of air travel will resume today, limited operations tomorrow, and then we're hearing potentially that normal flight schedules could resume as soon as Thursday.
Right. Well, that certainly is a development, because what we've been reporting throughout the day is that stranded Britons would be waiting for a government plane to take them out. So you're saying that there is a possibility that they will actually be able to get on a commercial airline in order to get home.
Well, look, this news is just in. So what you've been reporting today is accurate. This is just a breaking news update. But what I would say is that there is now going to have to be a very organised plan for how to repatriate tens of thousands of tourists and people that are wanting to leave the country. And the British ambassador to the UAE did give an update today where he said, look, we are aware that loads of you want to get out of the country, and we are working on a plan with airlines, with the governments and with various authorities. And the advice is just to register your presence with the Foreign Office, of which more than 100,000 British citizens have now done in the Middle East. And we're being told that around 3/4 of those citizens are here in the UAE, the majority of them holidaymakers. So I think there is going to have to be a really big effort now to try and get people out once air travel resumes, which we are hearing has just restarted in a very limited number of flights out of Abu Dhabi.
You're absolutely right. What an operation that is going to be. Sally, do you know that if you're an expat in Dubai, you're getting a different message to if you're a British tourist in Dubai? Is any distinction being made there?
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't seen or heard a distinction myself. I am a resident here. We're receiving the same advice from the Foreign Office, from the embassy in Abu Dhabi, which for the last couple of days has been to stay at home. There's been a stay in place order for people to stay away from windows. It's been really quite dramatic for people living here, not something that you expect in the UAE. And that advice has been the same for tourists. We've also received the same link from the Foreign Office to register our presence here. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're requesting to leave the country, but they are trying to get a handle on which British passport passport holders are in the UAE, because, of course, the big concern the last few days, and I would say is still a concern, is we don't know how much this situation could escalate. It does feel calmer this afternoon, and the UAE have done an incredible job of shooting down hundreds of drones and ballistic missiles that have been fired this way. But obviously, it's very unpredictable, this situation. We don't know how the Iranian regime is going to respond. This is potentially an existential crisis for them. It seems they're going to go down fighting. And so that's made what is unfolding around us here very unpredictable and really concerning.
Sure. You've been reporting as well, Sally, I know, on what the Iranian diaspora is feeling. There was a strong march through London yesterday celebrating the end of the Ayatollah's reign, but there were also protests about his fall. What have you heard since the war began?
Well, there's more than 500,000 Iranian citizens living in the UAE, and many of them reached out to me after the protests erupted at the end of December, early January, saying, please, we need you to talk about this. We need you to shine a light on this. This is really important. But no one wanted to speak publicly. Everyone is absolutely terrified of their family members being targeted back in Iran. But everyone's been really worried. I can't explain just how many people send me messages on social media every day from inside Iran and also from here saying, we need international help. And I think there was a sense of betrayal among the Iranian diaspora, and definitely from protesters inside Iran who took to the streets. They heard Donald Trump saying, take to the streets, we're coming to your rescue, help is on its way. And it didn't arrive. And for lots of reasons, of which I'm sure we don't know many of them, but one major reason was that they just simply weren't ready to launch this enormous attack on Iran, which we're now seeing. They didn't have the military hardware in place. They didn't have enough air defense systems to protect Gulf allies, and obviously that is now unfolding. But in the meantime, I have been hearing from injured protesters who've been hiding in their houses in Iran since the middle of January, just waiting for help to come.
Sally, for the moment, thank you very much indeed. That's correspondent in Dubai, Sally Lockwood.